Corporate training taught you the process, not how to win real conversations in the field. If you've ever felt overlooked or unsure how to speak up with a store manager, you're in the right place. Welcome to Built for Retail Field Reps. I'm Sylvia Gonzalez, a retail fields leader, author, and creator of the S.E.L.L.S method. This podcast breaks down what corporate never taught you about confidence, sales, and winning, so you can show up strong and trust yourself in the field. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And whether you're driving from store to store, walking your route, or just listening with your headset on, I appreciate you tuning in today. And if you haven't noticed, my voice is a little raspy. So last week, my kids were sick and I felt like I was coming down with it too, but this week it hit me hard. So I didn't want to go another week without showing up for you guys. So I've got my hot tea. I'm good. I'm ready to go. So we're going to get through this. And what I want to talk about today is something that I know for a fact. If you're a vendor rep or a merchandiser, you've experienced this. This is a classic. And if you listen all the way through, I'm going to help you start seeing the word no differently. And no is the same thing as objections in our world, okay? And most importantly, how to handle it better in the field. All right, so now let me tell you something, because most reps, they don't realize this, but when a manager says no, which is, an objection, that's usually not the real reason. Okay. They say no and they're telling you things like, we don't have space or maybe next time. That's the type of no that you'll get from a store manager, right? And what happens is at the end of those conversations, the average rep is going to say, all right, well, no problem, maybe next time. And they move on. But after years in the field and, managing teams and hundreds of reps and overseeing, so many stores, I noticed the same pattern over and over again. Like store managers are not saying no to your product. Okay, you can have a top seller. You can have a national brand, like something that moves like hotcakes during the holidays. And that's not even the issue. Okay, they're saying no to everything that comes with the ask. So they're thinking about it like the work, the risk, the uncertainty. And if you don't understand that, like if you don't understand the why, like the psychology of that part of the brain, what they're going through, you're going to keep hearing no. Okay? And it's not even your product. All right? Your product, like I said, can be solid. So let me just slow this down for a second because I want you to know that this is coming from experience. Okay, it's not just being in the field, but I've been inside the manager's world. All right, I've sat in those offices with them. I've had real conversations with store managers, and it's not just quick check ins with them. Like I'm talking real conversations where they open up. I've gotten to know them on a deeper level. Some managers, gosh, I've known since the very beginning of my career in this, in the world of vendor merchandising and sales. Managers always get moved around, from one store to another, and all of a sudden you see them, at another store. It's wild, it's a small world. But anyways, so when you walk into the store, right, you're thinking as a rep, I'm going to pitch this idea. I'm going to get this display. I'm going to increase my average order size. And that's great. You have an intention, right? That's awesome. But when you walk into that manager's office, they're thinking something completely different. Okay, so you're going in there with those things I mentioned, but they're seeing it in a totally different way, not the way you're seeing it. All right. So they're thinking, I'm short staffed. Where's my truck? Waiting for this delivery. My DM is walking the store tomorrow. My numbers are off this week. I've got 5 other vendors coming. And then you walk in with another ask. That's what I'm talking about. So when they say no, it's not always about your product. It's about everything already sitting on their plate. And I'll be real with you. Some managers, they don't even want anything extra in their store. And it's not because they don't like you, not because your idea isn't good, but because in that moment, it just feels like more work, more pressure, more to manage. And I've had managers tell me straight up, Sylvia, I don't want to deal with anything extra right now. And that stuck with me because it made me realize this isn't just about selling. This is about understanding the person that you're standing in front of. And this is where great reps separate themselves. Okay. So the average rep, they take it very personal. They hear no and they shut down. Great reps, oh, they read the room. They adjust. They make it easier for the manager to say yes. So instead of walking into a store thinking, okay, how am I going to get them to say yes? I want you to start thinking, how do I make this easier for them? Because when you shift like that, everything changes. And this is why relationships matter so much. Because when you build relationships with managers and store personnel, they start telling you exactly what's going on, what they're stressed out about, what corporate is pushing on them, what they actually need help with. And when you know that, you stop being just another vendor. You become someone they trust, someone they listen to. And now everything starts to click. So, reason number 1 why most managers are going to say no to you is because it feels like more work. Like one of the first things going through their mind is, how much work is this going to create for me, right? They're already managing inventory, staff, customers. So even if your idea is good, it feels like more work. So it's going to be a no. So when you're ready to present, whatever you're pitching, whether that be an incremental display, a small display, a lobby display, you have to present it with making it very clear that you're going to remove the work for them. So like a generic example would be something like, hey, Mike, so I can set this up for you. It's going to take me about 10 minutes and I'm going to maintain it until next service. Okay. But if it's a bigger display, like a lobby display, you're going to say something a little different like, okay, so next week your order drops on Thursday. I will be here with my with my merchandiser, and we will set it up for you. We'll take care of everything. So that matters. Okay. And I'm going to say something that I used to do out in the field, right? Because I remember when I would sell in a huge lobby display and we get there in the morning to set up And if another vendor's product is still sitting there, move it. Don't wait. Don't make the store do it. You just earned a huge display. Act like it. That kind of effort, managers notice that. And that's the kind of stuff that gets you more yeses long term. Now, most of the product, you're walking in and their product is still there. Usually it's a quick move. It's probably already on pallets. It's just about rolling them to the back room, or they're probably already on shippers and you're just going to take them to the back room. So, I mean, I'm talking if it's work like that, right? I mean, an extra maybe 5-7 minutes. Now, if it requires more work, well, shoot, you and your partner knock it out. Like I said, think about what you're gaining. You're gaining this huge display, but if, you're very adamant about not touching other product, that is not yours. Well, if you have to ask for the store to move it, then go ahead. But like I said, little things like this, I used to do out in the field. To me, it wasn't a big deal. And it went a long way with me and the relationship I had with stores. And every time I would ask for displays, most of the time I would get them because it was little things like that that mattered to them. All right. So that was just my 2 cents on that. So reason number 2, they don't see the value. So managers, they don't just approve any incremental display, right? If they did, that would be awesome, but they don't. They say yes when they clearly see the value and they see the outcome. So if you say, well, this product is selling really well, well, that's not enough. But if you say, this can drive impulse sales right here at checkout, especially with your afternoon traffic, now it makes a little bit more sense. Now you're talking their language, right? Use data. The last time we ran this, we sold through 3 cases out of the 5 that we ordered. Not, oh, it did pretty good. Managers don't always know what's sold. So when you bring numbers like that, you build credibility. You build trust. And your next pitch just becomes stronger. And this is also why I always say, lead with a visual when they can actually see it. Okay. I remember, when I was a rep and I wanted to sell in this huge display, even though I had never built it before, but I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like. All reps always have pictures of POS, right? You always have pictures of your shippers, and what I would do is I would create a little mock-up like of what it would look like. Or if there's another rep somewhere else in your, in your company that has built something and that's inspiration to you, use their picture as a visual of what you can do in their store. Okay. So you want to remove any guesswork. Okay. So leading with a visual pitch is what I recommend and what I teach in my coaching as well. Okay. And reason number 3, they don't trust the outcome. Managers have seen things fail, like displays sit, product don't move. So when you're pitching something new, they're thinking, what if this doesn't sell? Especially with new items, like you need to lower the risk. Okay. Something like, well, what if we try something small for a week? See how it goes. Or let's bring in the core items and test the new flavor on top. Okay. So now it feels a little safer for them, right? And this is actually, again, what I touch on in my coaching, and I have my art framework. If you don't already have it, please go download it. It'll help you handle all these objections in real time in the field. Okay. And I also wanted to say that there's actually a concept in psychology called loss aversion. And It comes from behavioral economics research. So what does that mean? Well, what they found is that people feel pain of losing something more strongly than the excitement of gaining something. And I found this interesting because I started comparing it to, what we do in field. So an example would be like, so when a manager hears your idea, they're not thinking right away, what am I going to gain out of this? That doesn't excite them, right? They're thinking right away, okay, what's going to go wrong? What if it doesn't sell? This is going to create more work for me. What if this becomes a problem when my DM comes in and they're like, what the heck are we thinking? Your job isn't just to sell them an idea. It's to make it feel safe for them, low risk, easy to execute. Okay. So next time a manager says no, don't just walk away. Pause and just ask yourself, what are they actually saying no to? Is it the work, the value, the risk? And one of the things that I do touch on my private coaching, and if you haven't gotten also my opportunity walk checklist, please do that as well. You will find that very valuable, especially when when you walk in your store, first 5 minutes, how to make that useful and what to do, because I teach you also how to prepare for these objections ahead of time and not come up with something to respond to them on the spot, right? Like you're already preparing mentally on objections, because once you understand all of this, you can respond differently. Okay. You're coming in with structure, with a framework. So next time you walk in the store, like I said, pause for a second and remind yourself, this isn't just a pitch. Okay. This is a conversation. It's a conversation with someone who's under a lot of pressure. They've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's my job to make their job easier. If you've ever walked out of a store thinking, I should have said something different, that's a skill. And skills can be built. Okay, you're not stuck. Okay, you're learning. And I also want you to know that I believe in you. I want you to be a rock star out there in the field. Think of this podcast as little micro training sessions, just short conversations that help you grow every time you step into a store. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Okay, I want to hear from you. And remember, confident reps get bigger when build the skill, master the system. That's it. Go make it happen. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.